These elegant flying boats were one of the most modern planes when they appeared, and though they became very much obsolete by the time World War II started, interestingly some of them were used in different roles both on the Axis and on the Allied side. One of them carries the questionable honor of being the first Luftwaffe aircraft to be lost in World War II to the British, when it was forced down on 26th of September 1939. They were the Dornier Do-18 and Do-24 flying boats. So let's see the history of these two aircraft today. The interwar period was the golden age of the flying boats, used for mail services, cargo and passenger transport all over the world. One of the best amongst them was a German design, the Dornier Do. Though it was an advanced aircraft for its time, but by the mid-1930s it was a 10-year-old design, as it made its maiden flight in 1922. Still, in 1932, by the request of the German Defense Ministry, a military variant of the type, the DOJ-2D, was tested and accepted into service as Do-16. But by winter 1933, the RLM Technical Office already sent new specifications for its replacement to Dornier. While working on this military contract, Dornier also started to negotiate with the Deutsches Lufthansa airline, as they also had plans to replace their DOJ models used for cross-Atlantic mail delivery. Though Lufthansa initially planned for a larger capacity aircraft, they still showed interest in the new design drawn up based on the RLM specifications. The new plane was an elegant all-metal construction, except for the outer wing panels. In many aspects it was similar to its predecessor, featuring a parasol wing holding the engines and the sponsons on the sides. But it had much better aerodynamics and used many high-tech features of the time. The control surfaces used the Junkers double-wing design, and the hull was divided into 7 watertight compartments to improve seaworthiness. The plane could stay afloat as long as no more than 2 of these compartments were flooded. It was designed for the new 600 horsepower UMO-205 diesel engines, which had great fuel consumption, making them the ideal choice for a long-range aircraft. The engines were mounted on the top of the wing in Dornier's signature push-pull tandem configuration. As with many other German military developments of the time, at first this aircraft was also disguised as a civilian design, but the civilian and military variants started their testing almost at the same time. The first prototype Do-18A model made its maiden flight in March 1935, but the planned UMO-205 engines were not ready yet, so it was fitted with earlier UMO-5C diesel engines. This aircraft was later lost in a high-speed trial. The next to fly was the first of the military test variants, the Do-18D, which started its trials late 1935, differing from the civilian version by featuring an open turret in the bow and another gun position in the rear. Mounting points to carry bombs were also added under the starboard wing. The V4 variant featured an experimental twin tail to increase the field of fire, but the production models were reverted back to the single tail design. 3 pre-production units were delivered to Lufthansa in July 1936 as Do-18E models. These variants were powered by the UMO-205C engines, and they performed endurance trials over the Baltic. During the trials, the type managed to fly non-stop for 30 hours and 21 minutes, covering 5,560 kilometers, with 181 kilometers an hour average speed. They started their civilian service on the South Atlantic in April 1937. By this time the military D variant entered service, but deliveries were very slow at the beginning because production of the type was transferred to new factories, and it only picked up in 1938. Until then, only 2 units were fully equipped with this type. Not long after it entered service, the German officials already recognized that the type was quickly getting obsolete. Its performance, and especially its armament, was inadequate. An upgrading program was started to introduce a new variant, featuring the new, more powerful UMO-205D engines, modern radio and navigation equipment, and improved armament, including a 13mm machine gun in the nose and a 20mm cannon in the dorsal position, in place of the earlier used 7.92mm guns. Despite its more powerful engines, the performance of the new Do-18G model didn't improve, as the added weight negated the increase in power. This new variant soon completed its trials, but the engine shortage prevented it to enter service until late 1939. This flying boat was 19.23 meters long, with a wingspan of 23.7 meters. It had an empty weight of 6,680 kilograms and a maximum takeoff weight of 8,500 kilograms. The plane was powered by two Junkers UMO 205C engines, providing 605 horsepower each. It could reach a top speed of 250 kilometers an hour and a cruise speed of 190 kilometers an hour. Thanks to the diesel engines, the plane's combat range was 3,500 kilometers, and it had a service ceiling of 4,350 meters. Its armament consisted of two 7.92mm machine guns, one in the nose and one in the dorsal position, and its offensive armament was just two 50 kg or 100 kg bombs. When World War II broke out, 36 of these planes operated on the North Sea and 27 on the Baltic. One of them was the unlucky aircraft to become the first Luftwaffe loss to the British forces on 27th of September 1939. The Do-18s participated in the invasion of Poland and later in the invasion of Norway, and flew missions during the Battle of Britain. But it quickly became obvious the slow and weakly armed planes were extremely vulnerable in the reconnaissance role, so they were soon moved to search and rescue missions and later to training roles. But the Do-18's lack of performance was not a surprise to the officials. As early as 1936, they set new requirements for more advanced flying boats, to fill the long-range maritime patrol and search and rescue roles. And with this we arrived to the successor of the Do-18, the Do-24 model. Dornier worked on a new design, which was an evolution of the Do-18, and entered it for these new requirements. But as it turned out, the Blow-Montvoss BV-138 was a more promising design, and it was chosen as the primary flying boat for the future. I have already made a video covering that type, so if you're interested in its history, check it out. After losing to the Blow-Montvoss design, Dornier's new P-14 project was on the brink of cancellation, and the construction of the first two prototypes was stopped. But luckily for the type, the Royal Netherlands Navy was also looking for a new flying boat to replace their earlier DOJ models used on the Dutch East Indies. They found the new Dornier design acceptable for their needs, and in August 1936 signed a contract for 6 of the new aircraft, now named Do-24. The V3 and V4 prototypes were finished to the Dutch specifications, and they were equipped with Wright Cyclone engines instead of the originally planned UMO 205C ones. This way they used the same engines as other types already in use on the East Indies by the Dutch Navy. The design followed the elegant lines of the Do-18, but it was bigger, more streamlined, featured 3 engines built in the high-mounted wing, and a twin tail. The V3 model was the first to fly on 3rd of July 1937, and a day later it was handed over to the Dutch Naval Aviation for sea trials. These trials lasted until October, and the seaworthiness of the aircraft was found to be excellent. An order was placed for 11 units, and further 25 were planned to be produced under license. But after the outbreak of the war and the German occupation of Holland, the fully and partially completed models were taken over by the Germans, and entered service with the sea rescue squadrons as Do-24N1 models, which were still built with the Wright engines until the engine supplies lasted. Later, on the Do-24T models, the Cyclone engines were replaced by BMW Bramo 323 models. Though the German forces were not interested in using the type as a reconnaissance aircraft, as they already had the BV-138 type. But still the production of the Dornier plane continued during World War II in Holland, and some of them were produced in France as well, as the Sea Emergency Service could use them for search and rescue missions, especially as they still operated the obsolete HG-59 biplanes. If you're interested in the history of the HG-59, I have already made a video about that type as well. Go check it out. Looking at the specifications of the Do-24, we can see it was a more modern design than the Do-18, much more in line with other World War II planes. It was larger than its predecessor, with a length of 22.05 meters and 27 meters wingspan. Its empty weight was 9,400 kilograms and had a maximum takeoff weight of 18,400 kilograms. It was powered by 3 Bramo 323R2 engines, each of them producing 944 horsepower. Thanks to the more powerful engines, the type was able to reach 330 km an hour top speed and had a cruise speed of 295 km an hour. Its combat range was 2,900 km, with a ferry range of 4,700 km, and it had a service ceiling of 7,500 meters. The plane's defensive armament consisted of 2 7.92mm machine guns, one in the nose and one in the tail, and one 20mm cannon in the dorsal turret. It was also able to carry 1,200 kilograms of bombs under the wings. When Germany invaded the Netherlands, they found about a dozen partially built planes, and enough parts to assemble another dozen. Up until 1944, a further 170 units were built in Holland and 48 in France in different configurations. They were used as air sea rescue planes by the Germans during World War II, and also flew transport missions to supply troops on the Mediterranean and on the Eastern Front. Though on the early N variants the armament was removed, on the later T variants it returned, and it was also improved over time. On the T2 version, an MG151 cannon replaced the original Hispano-Suiza in the dorsal turret, and on the T3 variant, the front and rear gun positions received 13mm machine guns in place of the earlier 7.92mm ones. From the planes originally ordered by the Netherlands, 37 were sent to the Dutch East Indies before the German occupation of the country, and they participated in the fighting against the Japanese forces. One of them, the X-32, was credited for sinking the Japanese destroyer Shinonome on 17th of December 1941. After the Japanese invasion of the Dutch East Indies, 12 of these planes managed to escape to Australia, where 6 of them were put to use by the Australian Air Force, and they stayed in service until mid-1944. Spain also received 12 Do-24s in 1944 to be used as sea rescue planes, and many of those stayed in service well after the war, until 1967. Though these flying boats are not known for their daring stunts or big effect on the events during World War II, they are well known for most people for their elegant looks and long service life in different roles. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and in the comments let me know if there's any interesting events or vehicles you'd like to see.